Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ahmed. Thank you, Matt, for going through the submersible pump. So now I'm going to go through over a couple of the most popular options that we have here for peristaltic pumps. They're not submersible, so they're only used on surface. So just make sure you don't get them wet because they're not going to work. But we mainly have two options that we offer in our rental fleet. We have actually the Geopump peristaltic pump, or as we call it, peri pump, and we also carry one that's exactly similar from a company called Solinest. So that's another peri pump that we carry as well. They work around about the same. There isn't that much difference, but we're just going to go through each and every one and how each one actually works and what are the benefits of each one. So I'm going to start over with the Geopump. So for those who don't know, the peristaltic pumps is actually it's just a pump that's actually variable, has a variable speed pump that's primarily used for low flow sampling. So you can use that for low flow sampling. It has a variable speed, and I'm actually going to show you the components of each buttons here. So we have the pump casing, the housing. We have also the knob here, which lets you actually increase or decrease the speed of the rotation. We have the on and off button, of course, and it has the forward and reverse switch as well. And of course, reverse and forward depends on your application. If you are purging, you can use that. If you are doing other than purging, like injecting, you can just simply switch to reverse or forward, depending on your application. And as you guys can see here, we have the pump head. So the pump head actually has a lever on the side. So this way it's closed. So before you put the tubing in, you can see inside the pump head has a rotating shaft inside. So this is actually how the pump works. It mechanically works by rotating the shaft that's actually going to squeeze the tubing inside, and therefore is going to move the fluid to whatever the direction you're setting it, depending on your reverse and forward switch. So those are the components of the Geotech pump. So how does it actually work? So this one actually working by using, you can use different type of tubing, but we mainly carry here flex tubing, which is a silicone tubing. It mainly uses 3/8 inch of tubing, just like this one here. This is actually the most popular one that we use here, 3/8 inch tubing that goes inside. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. You simply just, this is the way it's closed, and then just pull the lever up, and then you just put the tubing inside. As you can see here, so I'm going to do it from other end. Once the tubing is inside, you just put back the lever down. So just like so. So this way you can see if you put it on forward motion, then it's going to draw from this end to the other side. If you are injecting, you reverse the switch to reverse, and it's going to go to the other side. Okay, so now we know all the components and we know how it works. How do you connect it in the field? So I have a case here. This is actually what goes out with every rental. So the unit itself, and this is the cable that comes with the unit. So the cable is actually at the back here. You can just plug it in. Just gonna untie this. You can simply plug it in here at the back. You guys can see there's a groove here. You just match it with this one, and you can just simply push it in until make sure it locks in place. So from now the unit is plugged. On the other side, you can actually see it. There's like a cigarette lighter shape connected here. So what you're gonna do is you grab one of those alligator clips that we supply with the pump, like so. Plug it in, make sure it's nice and snug, and then what you're gonna do lastly is grab a battery and you just connect it. So of course the positive goes to the positive, which is red, negative goes to the negative here on this side. So this way now your setup is complete, and simply just turn it on, and you can simply just increase or decrease the speed as you wish. So I don't know if you can see from a distance here, but the pump actually has two pumping stations. So this one that's the head is attached to is 0 to 350 RPM. The other one is 0 to 600 RPM. So let's say you want to swap the stations from station one to the second one, you can simply do so by removing those two screws and switch it to the other side for a higher RPM. So each revolution, so someone may ask how much volume can I get out of this one? So each revolution for the shaft here is actually equal to 1.67 milliliter. So you can actually see how much flow you're pumping or you're drawing back by counting how many revolutions that you have here. Another one, if you, let's say if you're counting too fast and you can't keep up with the counting, you can simply get a stopwatch and use something with a known volume. Let's say like the bucket that Matt was showing you, it has a grading, so you can see. So this one, this Geotech pump is actually can go deep as 27 feet. That's like 8 meters or so. So you can use it down to that depth. So you can see it's very handy to use in shallow waters, or if you're drawing back from a river or a lagoon, you can perfectly do that with no problems. So now, just like I showed you here on this one, I'm going to switch to the Solinest peristaltic pump. The Solinest pump is actually can be used with two different size of tubings. So not only it can use the 3/8 tubing, just like the Geotech pump, but it actually can use the 5/8 tubing as well, which is a bigger size. The only difference is with this tubing, with the 3/8 tubing, you just have to use one of the supplied a plastic piece here or a plastic liner that you have to use just to make sure that it actually make a good contact with the tubing and the impeller inside. So I'm going to show you now how you can do that. So as far as the connection, it has the same cigarette lighter style. So you can connect it to the supplied adapter here with the alligator clips and into your battery, just like so. So you can use you can use any 20-volt battery that you have. You can use a small size as this one, or you can use a marine battery, deep cycle, just like the one in your car. And you can plug it in also directly into your car. If you have a cigarette lighter, you can do that as well. Now for the operation of this one, I told you there are two. The other advantage than the Geotech doesn't have is you can use two different sizes of tubing. So I'm going to show you exactly what to do to get them set up in the field. So first of all, you have to, this is the pump head. So you have to just unscrew those 4 screws, just like so, just to expose the shaft inside. Just like so, and make sure that they're all removed all the way. And here you go. So this is the impeller that's gonna rotate, and this way is gonna pump your fluid up to the surface or inject it downhole, depending on your application. So for the 3/8, for the 5/8 tubing, you simply, what you got to do is just insert the tubing this way. And I'll try to move this around just to get a good visual. Insert the tubing this way on one side, and then with your hand, rotate the shaft until the other tubing is properly seated inside. To make sure the tubing is actually seated properly, there are two rollers here. Those are two rollers here, so the tubing won't get stuck while operating. Once you did that, you can simply put back the cover this way. Just like so. And now you can start your sampling. So this solidus pump, also the same thing as the Geotech pump. It has forward and backward motion, forward or reverse. You can see it here from the dial on the top. So this is for the 5/8 tubing. So let's move to the smaller size tubing. Just gonna take this out. The same procedure as when you put it back in. Let's get that out of the way. So like I said before, for the 5/8, for the 3/8 tubing, you have to use the sleeve or the plastic liner in order for it to work. So what you gotta do after you remove the cover, you just make sure you line it here inside, you put it inside, make sure it's sitting properly, just like so. Should be flush with the top, not sticking out. So this is the first step. Second step would be grabbing your 3/8 tubing, and you just insert it the way that you did, same way as you did with the 3/8. I'm just gonna lay it on the floor here, on the table here, so you can see, just like so. Push it in. Keep rotating here and this way. Now it's properly seated. It's touching the rollers, so it's not gonna get stuck or anything like that. So it's good to go. And lastly, we make sure to use those bushings. We supply those bushings as well. Those ones are actually just used for the 3/8 tubing, just making sure the tubing is actually stationary and is well seated, and that's not gonna go anywhere when you stop pumping. You just insert it just like so. Now it's seated here on the top. Once it's seated, make sure it's good and snug, and then you can simply put back the cover, put the screws back, just a hand tight to make sure it's not loose or anything like that. Screw it back on, and now your pump is ready to go. So this is pretty much it's all about the two pair of pumps. They work exactly the same as I mentioned. They use the same connections, same battery pump, or they can use any kind of 12-volt battery that you have available. And yeah, just to recap, the best two options here with the solidus pump is that it can use two different sizes tubings, like I said before, and also it's really handy for both of them. They're really mobile. You can use them for shallow water. You can use them. It's very convenient to carry. They're not that heavy.